So let's go back to 2006. And so at that time, I9 Sports, we had just turned the corner where we stopped losing money. We put an emphasis on, okay, needing to have better training tools, supporting better, having a much better operations team. And actually, we realized right before you came aboard that business coaching was a much bigger aspect than I foresaw. I thought it was all about, how to teach them how to run a sports league. And when you came in, it was kind of a dawn of a new era. So why don't we talk about what life was like when you came in 06 and what your initial feelings were?
So I came into I9 Sports and making a career change. I moved from, I was coaching soccer and wanted to get into the business world. And I didn't know exactly how I was going to do that. And very grateful that you gave me the opportunity to come in and take what I learned coaching athletes and apply it to coaching business owners. And I didn't really know at the time that there was such a strong correlation. And I kind of learned that over and over again in my career in franchising. So very grateful that you gave me the opportunity. Back then, I remember being in the very largest training class that you had to date and kind of being thrown into it.
Right.
And trying to figure it out. The sports side of it obviously came very easy to me. And that allowed me to focus on other things. So
that was August 2006, I believe, was that training class.
Yeah, and I was hired probably July of 2006.
By the way, that sounds very me, by the way, very on brand. It's like, oh, by the way, we have a huge training class and you're starting now. Yeah. Well, Scott, one of the things that I admired most about you from the get-go, I don't know if you remember this, but when I was interviewing for your position, you interviewed me. And I was taken back because I was so used to, you interview somebody and you do the whole Q&A thing, but you put it back on me. And it made me feel like, I got to get this guy part of my team because you were so thoughtful and you thought through about our company and you were so genuinely excited about the opportunity. And of course, that made me excited too to bring you on. I knew that you were going to elevate our company. It was what we desperately needed. And what intrigued me was not that you came from the sports background, but you made it very clear, like you understood that whether you're coaching sports or coaching, business owners, there's a lot of common threads of those two types.
Yeah, not every day an opportunity comes around that fit what I thought my career path would be. And I put a lot of effort into figuring out how to uncover if it was the right opportunity, because I believe that the people that you work with are extremely important. And I also came from a very prestigious place, so I wanted to move on to another great step. I didn't want to just take a step and then go sideways or whatever. I wanted to take a step and go forward. I did put a lot of energy into figuring out, were you the right step for me. I do remember, I had a pretty rigorous schedule coaching, and you guys took the opportunity to meet me on a Saturday. And I thought that was awesome. That means you must really, appreciate my background and want me. And I wanted to be in a place that I felt comfortable and the people did want me and felt valued. So that was my opportunity to try to figure out, was this the right spot? Again, you learn things about yourself. And I didn't know I was really doing that at the time. But you're right, it translates to business coaching. Trying to figure out each individual franchisee, what makes them tick, how they develop their own sense of worth and goals going forward. You put a lot of energy into figuring out some of those conversations before you even have them. So yeah, I appreciate that you did see that from me. I've heard you say that before, and that makes me proud. And it's something that I've always done in the interview process with new employees. I'm pretty tough and ask some pretty pointed questions to try to get to know, are they going to be the right fit for the business going forward as well?
Well, Scott, one of the things that I absolutely love about you is you can be tough, you can be firm, yet you're probably one of the most empathetic people I've ever met in my life. And if I had to put anybody on Mount Rushmore of I9 Sports, you would certainly be on that for sure.
I appreciate that.
You played such a huge role in our company for such a long period of time. I'd like to go back to what you felt like. So there are founders that are hearing this that are trying to grow and they're trying to hire people. And when you came aboard, it was like right after a scary time. Like we were just probably about, I don't know, maybe 9 months removed from close to going out of business. So you didn't experience that. We were starting to turn the corner. But what was life like when you're working in an office of, was it maybe 5 of us, 6 of us?
I've always been an athlete, and one of the things that I thought I would miss getting into the business world is competing. And you showed us in 99 Sports, we were competing. We're competing on the same team. We're competing to drive the business forward. And back then, it was a close-knit family who were all trying to do the right thing for the franchisees and give them the tools necessary for them to succeed. It was a unique market. It's not something that really wasn't done before. So being able to forge that path forward was an excellent thing, and it was one of those pursuits of passion. And I don't know if you know this, but quite simply, we know that it was your dream, but it was also our dream as well. And somehow we attached to you. I don't know if you meant to do that on purpose, or if it's just your electric personality that connects people. But I felt as much in the dream as you did, and I'm sure the others did as well.
Oh, thank you so much. That was so nice of you. While it was my dream, I did know that I knew I had to hire for my weakness, and I knew that I was only going to get there with a great team. And when I first started, I brought along the people who had run the sports leagues with me, and they weren't all necessarily the right people. So one of the scary shifts was I need to bring in strangers I don't know. But I did know that I needed to integrate the vision and be willing to do whatever it takes. Like I have to roll up my sleeves and work just as hard as everybody else, because I think that is really critical for a founder, not just to, talk the talk. You have to walk it.
Absolutely.
And we walked it every day together.
Absolutely. What you set up, we ended up doing with the franchisees. I can remember so many times jumping in and leading a parents' talk prior to their opening kickoff, doing whatever it took, laying down cones, getting fields set up, rushing to Home Depot because we needed a bolt cutter to open up a field that wasn't ready, when you see the leader take that kind of action themselves, it's very easy to follow suit.
I do remember that time we were in Palm Beach and we did one of the biggest grand openings we'd ever done. We did it together.
Yeah.
We stayed up late at night helping the franchisee, sorting bags of jerseys, and we did, you just do whatever it takes, especially when you're, a small operation, you're trying to get things started.
Absolutely.
What, reflecting back on the early days, what would you say maybe are some of the more valuable lessons you learned about your role of franchise business coaching?
Yeah. I didn't have a ton of experience in business coaching itself, and I kind of understood what I was good at and realized I could provide value right away by leveraging my experience in the fields of sports, running the programs. I could give some insight and jump right in. So my goal with every franchisee was, how do I give them value? How do I make them trust me? My end goal is to be a trusted advisor for each franchise owner, and that doesn't happen overnight. So what are the small steps to get in? And when you're starting out, you don't have a large toolbox to pull from. So I really went back to my experience and said, I've had this experience, this is what we've done. And I learned a ton from the operations manual and other people that were in the role with me. So really, how do we go forward and help a franchise owner as much as we can take care of the important things to help them run the business.
And how do you make that shift? Because when you have, depending on the person's stage of owning their franchise, right? You're doing the initial training. You did a lot of the initial training classes, and in that mode, you're in training mode, right? So it's more one-way conversation. Here's what you need to do, and then you go into a coaching mode, and it's more like, hey, you're encouraging them to do what they need to do, but then you also have a consultant hat, right? And you're diagnosing problems. How do you know which lever to push?
Well, it's where you are at the moment. So from a training standpoint, you're trying to get a lot of information to the masses and trying to get them up the curve. If it's new franchise training, get them up the curve as quickly as possible. If it's individual coaching, it's trying to figure out, asking questions, trying to really dive into better understand what that issue is and where it could be. And, in my experience, it's typically not just one thing. It's two or three things that make up that challenge.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC.
Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.